Welcome to the iTree Education channel. Today we are discussing the part 2 of the systems development life cycle, which is the second part of the ICT grade 11 lesson. So today we are discussing about the second part of the systems development life cycle. The first part we have discussed the model of the system development life cycle with my previous video. You can watch that video to learn about the basic idea about what's the system, how the system behaves, the features of the system are discussed in the first video. So this second video we are going to discuss about the systems life cycle steps. So previous video we have discussed the life cycle model steps or the stages. Can you remember the first one? First step is the identification of requirement. Second one, designing the solution. Third one, coding the solution. Next one, testing and debugging. Fifth one, deployment of the system. Last one, maintenance of the system. So today we are going to discuss in detail each of these stages or the phases. So we have 6 phases. Now we are going to discuss about these 6 phases. Phase 1. What is phase 1? Identification of requirement. What we are doing here? A complete investigation of the existing system or new system is carried out to identify the problem to be solved accurately. So first of all, we want to understand what's the problem we are going to solve. In this stage, what we are going to do is we are trying to understand the problem, what we are going to solve. So there may be an existing system, we want to develop it, we want to make some improvement, or there will be no system. Anyway, we should know what's the problem we are going to solve. So here we are doing a very simple task that is called the gathering of data. First of all, we want to gather the data. How do we gather the data? There are different technologies are used to gather the data. The first method is reports and document searching. We try to gather the reports and documents available there. We will be searching those things. Second step we are calling interviewing. Sometimes not all the data can be collected with the reports and documents. We want to interview some of the people. So how they are doing the things, we can't see by looking the documents or reports. We will be interviewing them. Then the third one we are calling questionnaires. Interviewing is a phase 1. Phase 2, phase 1. It is time consuming. If you interview 10 different people, we need more time. So we are wasting our time as well as their time. What we could do, we can give a questionnaire to them. We can prepare set of questions, we can distribute among these people and we can collect these things. Sometimes some secret information can be collected with questionnaires because in interviewing face to face they may not disclose those details. Next one we call as observation. Some of the details can't be collected by looking the reports or by interviewing them or by giving the questionnaires. Only thing we can know about the observation. Think about if someone asks, how do you brush your teeth? Can you explain it? Can you write on a paper? Very unlikely. But when you observe it, you can easily see how they are doing that one. How do they brush teeth? For example, say we are going to design a new toothbrush. Now we have 2-bend toothbrush, 3-bend toothbrush, something. We are going to make a toothbrush with say many bend. So now we want to see how the effective of that. So we will observe that one. So last one we are calling as prototyping. Prototyping is a technique. We give a working model to the users and see how they are interacting with that one. Okay. So these are the methods we use to gather data. That is very, very important. When you are trying to solve a problem, we should know the problem, what we are going to solve, how well we can solve the problem. So first thing is we are gathering the data required for that project. We are doing report and document searching, interviewing, questionnaires, observation and prototyping. We may use one or many of these methods. Most of times we may use 2 or 3 methods to collect the data. It may be not sufficient to depend on one method. We may be collected using 2 methods or maybe 3 methods or maybe all of these methods. Step number 2. Before we are going to step number 2, I would like to say a little bit about additional factor. So this is not in your syllabus, it is not in your textbook, but I am giving you for your knowledge. That is the feasibility study. When you are trying to do some project, we try to see the feasibility of that project. We are looking the feasibility basically with three different areas. First one is the technical feasibility. Do we have technical people, technical material, technical items, lot of things. Then economic feasibility. How much you have to spend, how much you are gaining from that one. Okay, the cost and benefits we are trying to see. Next, we are looking about the practical feasibility. Even though we make a system, can we use the system? So just you remember these things. It is not important for ordinary level, but for high studies, you want to learn about these things. Step number 2, designing the solution. Now we have collected the data. Now we are trying to see how our new system is. So here we are normally carrying out these tasks. We are doing these tasks. First one is identification of software and software architecture. So what is software we are going to use and how is the architecture of that software. Second one, designing the user interfaces. How we are giving the interfaces to the users. For example, say if you are making a system for small kids, we try to make a nice pictures, colorful pictures, bigger letters. Even if you are making very small students, very small children, very small child, then we don't make letters. We always try to use some fancy pictures, images. So depend on the users, we are trying to design the user interfaces because that is the one interacting with the users basically. Then we are trying to identify the basic hardware and their components. What are the hardware we need? The basic hardware and their components. We want to identify those things. Then we try to identify the dependency of the each subsystem. In the first video, we told that the systems may be made with few subsystems. So we want to see how the interaction between these subsystems, can they work individually or how they are depending on each other. So this has to be studied here when we are making the solution for the problem. Then we are deciding the suitable hardware and software to run the system. To run the system, what is the hardware we need? What are software we need? We want to identify and we want to see what are those things. Then we make the infrastructure facilities. The space, all those things can be decided here. Then we are talking about the test plan. So when we make the program, how do we test it? So test plan also prepared in the designing stage in the step number 2. Then the coding solution. Now we identify the problem. Now we have the designing. Now we are writing the coding of the system. Here we use a suitable computer program or computer program few languages. Then we make the coding for that. Sometimes we may use a single programming language or we use few of these things. In the grade 11, the first lesson is about Pascal programming language. Like that, we make different programming languages to develop our program. Sometimes we may make one program in language or maybe use few programming language. Depend on the complexity of the program. We may use one or more programming language to develop our system, to code the system. Then we are in testing and debugging. Testing. So we make the program. Now we try to test whether these programs are running, working as we expected. Generally, we are calling as testing and debugging. Computer context, bugs means errors in the computer programs. Debugging means correcting the errors in the computer program. This came from history. Bug means errors in the computer programs. Debugging means correcting errors in those programs. So testing, there are several methods are employed to test the systems. Sometimes we do the black box testing and the white box testing. This is one method of testing the programs. Black box testing, white box testing. There is another method called alpha testing and beta testing. But in ordinary level, we are not interested to discuss in detail about these methods. There are so many methods are used to test system. There are so many methods, but we are interested with the here 4-step testing methodology. So we are carrying out testing in this way. The first step is we are doing the unit testing. First we test units. Normally the programs are developed by small units or called modules. So first we do the unit testing. Then we do the integration testing. Sometimes single programs will work fine, but when we integrate it, it may not work as we expected. So we test units individually, the modules individually, then we are integrating and see whether the integration will work as we expected. Then we go for the third system called system testing. First we do the unit testing, then we do the integration testing, then we do the system testing. Finally we do the acceptance testing. Normally acceptance testings are done by the users of the programs, computer users. So we given to them to test whether they are accepting, are they happy with the system. First we do the unit testing, then integration testing, system testing, finally the acceptance testing. Then we go for the step number 5, deployment of the system. Now our system is okay. Now we are going to put that one into execution, run. There are 4 methods are used. You can use one of the suitable methods to run the system. To execute, you can use one of the methods. As you know, we use one or more methods to collect data. We have 5 methods. We can use one method or few methods. But here we use only one method from these 4 methods. 1 out of 4 you are using. There are 4 methods. One is called direct deployment. Next one called phase deployment, sometimes called stage deployment as well. Pilot deployment, then parallel deployment. There are 4 methods: direct deployment, phase or stage deployment, pilot deployment, parallel deployment. So we take one by one. Direct deployment. What is happening here? We stop the old system and start the new system immediately. We stop the whole system at all, then we start the new system immediately. There are some advantages here because we use the new system immediately. There are some drawbacks as well. If the new system is not good, what is happening? It may be difficult to go back to the old system. But some of the systems we must run in this way. We should stop the old system and start the new system. For example, patient's heartbeat controlling systems, missile handling systems. Those systems should stop the old system and should start the new system. Phase deployment. So here we break the system into small modules or units, then we introduce unit by unit. So we stop the first unit of the old system, start the first part of the new system. We stop the second part of the old system, start the new part of the new system. So likewise we are proceeding step by step. That is called the phase deployment of the stage deployment or step deployment. So transaction processing systems are better to introduce in like this way. Third one, pilot deployment. So it is like a good system. It is a combination of direct system and the phase system. So what we do is we break the system into small units and we introduce part by part. So for a while we use the old system and new system sections together. So stock control systems are better to introduce in this way. And if you are going to introduce a new system, for example, say we are going to introduce the driving license issuing system for the whole Sri Lanka, what we could do? We can introduce one province by province. So then we can gradually introduce to the whole country. This is the pilot deployment. Last one is the parallel deployment. This is the best method if we can do. But unfortunately, it is very much difficult to implement this system because we may use a selected time period both the old system and the new system. This need more resources, more manpower, more space, more money. But sometimes some of the system has to be introduced in this way. Especially if you look at banking systems, we may run the old system and the new system together for a selected time period. Okay, so you use one of this method from these 4 to introduce a new system, to deploy a new system to the organization. Then the maintenance. When you use a system for some time period, it may want to update or make some changes. So this is due to different cases. It can be environment, it can be technology, or it can be some other reasons. For example, say normally you brush your teeth every day. Okay, time to time you cut your hair. Why do you do that? You want to do that. Okay, so whenever you use the system, it may want to make some updates or it want to change. So we will see what are the reasons to maintain a system. First one, changes of the user requirement. So user requirement are changing. Think about yourself. When you think about grade 1 2 something like that, the dress what you wear, can you wear now? You can't do that. Okay, think about chairs used in the grade 1 and 2. Can you use that now? You can't use that, because if you try to sit that one, what is happening to your knee? To hit to the next one, hit. Okay, so likewise user requirements are changing. Then the technology is changing. What use the computers today with Windows 10? Think about your phone, smartphone. Okay, so technology, so the system needs to be updated to meet the technology changes. Finally, sometimes when you use the system, you will find some defects, some mistakes, so you want to correct them, you want to address them. So for this reason you must maintain your system. So these are the steps you use with the systems development life cycle. So system development life cycle is one of the methods used to develop systems, but there are many more other systems are used to develop systems. One is called the waterfall model. Next one called the iterative incremental model. Third one called the prototype model. Last one we call the spiral model. So these are few popular methods. Waterfall model. This is a very simple thing. Whatever we discuss life cycle, so these steps are arranged like a waterfall. It is going from top to bottom, one after the other, like a waterfall. First step, identification of requirements, designing the solution. Next one, coding of the solution, testing and debugging, deployment of the system, maintenance of system. This is step use. Only thing, this is some kind of a linear pattern. Same step we use in the life cycle. It's a cycle model. This is a linear model. So we look at some features of the waterfall model. Output of the previous phase will be the input of the next phase. Each phase contains different tasks to complete. Difficult to go to the previous phase. It may be difficult to go back. So always going down. Advantages. This easy to use and understand. This is more suitable for the small projects. Cost is very low. Easy to maintain. It has some disadvantages as well. What are these disadvantages? Here need to understand all the requirements at the beginning. So all the requirements should be understood at the beginning. Difficult to go to the previous phase and make changes. Running system is available only at the end of the project. Until end, you don't get the usable project. You have to wait until end. It's taking longer time to complete the project because it's want to go step by step. You have to wait until all the steps are completed. Then we go next one, iterative incremental model. This start with the initial planning, then go to planning, it get the requirements, then go to analysis and design, then go to implementation. You can deploy. After you deploy or while you deploy, you can make testing. Then you go for evaluation. Again, you go for the initial planning, then planning, requirement. So this is iterating. This iterative model, it will loop. So each phase you develop a system as a small developments. So this figure can be shown something like this or something like this. You can see this can present like this, or this could be presented something like same thing. Initial planning, you do the planning, you get the requirements, you do analysis and design, you do implementation, you deploy the system, you test it, you evaluate it. Again go to planning, take the requirements, analysis and design. It's iterating. is an iterative incremental model. What are the features of that? Iterative process start with the basic requirements of the system and iteratively enhances the evolving versions until the full system is implemented. The basic idea behind this method is to develop a system through repeated cycles, iterative and in smaller portions at a time. It's incrementing. Advantages: can generate working system quickly because you are getting a working system quickly. Less costly to make changes. We can easily make changes because it is iterative. Easier to test and debug because modules are smaller part. You are making small parts. You can test and debug easily because system always is small. Disadvantages: this need more resources because you are always in developing, in testing. So need more and more resources. Not suitable for small projects because small projects are just once you can finish it. So this is required for larger projects. End of project may be not known because you do not know when this is going to end because it is always evolving, always iterating. So you do not know when it is going to finish because always you are in the process. Then we go prototype model. In prototype model, a sample model or release of a product will be built to test a concept or process. So we are making a small model, we'll present to the people just to show our concept of the process. A prototype is designed to test a new design to enhance precision by the system analysts and users, because we make a small working model which will present to the users just to understand what the design is, what the problem is to them. So we say prototyping. Prototyping is an attractive idea for complicated and large system for which there is no manual process or existing system to help determining the requirements. The prototype is usually not complete systems and many of the details are not built in the prototype. The goal is to provide a system with overall functionality. We make a working model, we give them to use, but it's not complete. It has not all the function, but it shows the overall functionality. Then when the users are happy with that one, we can improve that one to the final system. It has a working model, we can show them this is a working model, this is the way it's working, it's behaving something like something. Then the user can comment on that, then we can collect this comment and we can improve that one. Finally we make a fully functional method at the end. But prototype is a simple working model which we can show to the users the overall operational functionality of the system. Spiral model. This has 4 steps. First we determine the objectives, then we identify the risk and resolve it, then we make the development and testing, then we make the plan of the next iteration. Determine the objectives, identify and resolve risk, development and testing, plan the next iteration. The basic idea here is to analyze and resolve the risk. So here we do the risk analysis and we solve the risk. That's the advantage of this. This is also some kind of a iterative model, some kind of a cyclic model. We go 4 steps: determine the objectives, identify and resolve the risk, development and testing, and then the plan the next iteration. Anyway, I like the model shown here now. It is a 8-step system development life cycle. So far we have discussed 6-step life cycle. It's okay, but I would like to discuss 8-step life cycle. If you do some advanced learning, you can find out some of these things. Maybe in advanced you can get 7-step life cycle or 8-step life cycle. So here we can show a 8-step life cycle. You just jot down this one and keep with you. One day you may need it. It says 80 steps. Problem identification, feasibility study, system analysis, system design, system development, testing, implementation, maintenance. So this will end up our today's video, and this end the life cycle or system development life cycle. I hope you gain enough knowledge about the system development life cycle. I request you to subscribe to my channel. At the same time, you can share this one with your friends you can make a like on that. So you subscribe to my channel, share this one among your friends, and make a like on that. So you can join with my Google Classroom. You can get lot of things, lot of quizzes, and all those things are there. At the same time, I again tell you, subscribe, share, put a like. So we'll meet with another video about computer science. Thank you very much. Have a good day.